It worked. It actually worked this time. Welcome back to the land of the living. That's right, you were, well, dead. Hey now, calm down. There's no need to panic. You don't remember much, do you? That is to be expected. Who am I? Well, I'm a wizard, and as you may have gathered, I'm the one that resurrected you. We're in my home. I can assure you that we're safe here. There's nothing for you to fear. No, I'm certainly no priest. Holy magic can only be used for resurrection shortly after a person's passing. Besides, I'm not exactly the most pious man. I needed to use darker magics to bring you back. Well, what's that look for? Utilizing necromancy doesn't make me some sort of evil entity. I thought you might be more grateful for being brought back to life, but you seem skeptical. That's fine. I can respect your weariness, really. Waking up, not knowing who you are, where you are. Your mind is right to be untrusting. I'll explain some things about myself so that you can perhaps understand me a bit better. The best place to start would be at the beginning, I suppose. As a child, I was the son of a simple working man and his loving wife. We lived on some small farmland, about a day's walk from the nearest village. We were, for the most part, self sufficient and would occasionally have some folks from that village come to trade for our harvest. Anything that we couldn't produce ourselves that we needed. Clothing, tools, things of that nature. One time, my parents got me this stuffed animal that I had downright fallen in love with. Monty, I named him. Anyway, one day, some villagers came for trade at a time of the year that they normally wouldn't have. I remember my father making a note of the oddity, since they should know that we wouldn't have much produce for trade that season. He went out to meet them while Mother and I were inside preparing dinner. That's when I heard that terrible sound. The sound of my father yelling out in pain. Immediately, my mother grabbed my hand and ran me inside their bedroom. She shoved aside the bed, rolled up the rug, and revealed a small hole underneath the floorboards. She instructed me to hide inside and told me not to come out, no matter what I had heard. She then covered it back up, and I heard her run out. Not long after, a group of heavy feet entered our home. I hadn't dared make a peep. I feared breathing, tears silently falling down my cheeks. I still remember the horrible sounds of their laughter. Those bastards were laughing. They knew I was somewhere in that house. I recall one of them mentioning that there must be a child living there, as they noticed a room for one. Ultimately, they didn't seem to care much for actually finding me, though. It seems as though they simply wanted to rob us. Finding me, a defenseless child, wouldn't have done anything to support their malicious goals. Despite this, I wouldn't dare come out. I don't know how long they were there, but it felt like ages. Eventually, when I was confident that it was clear, I had left my little hiding spot. Our home was completely pillaged. All of the furniture turned over and torn. Our food stores empty. It was as if a tornado would come through. I peered out the window and saw the mangled corpse of my father. Not far from him was my mother. My young heart was shattered that day. I was just a child that wanted my parents back. But even more than that, I wanted revenge. I buried what was left of them and took my leave the following morning. I journeyed to that nearby village where a wizard took me in. I was to be his apprentice from that moment forward. Turns out I'm a natural when it comes to magic. Fast forward several years and plenty of training. I explained to my master my desire for revenge. He was apprehensive at first, but eventually came to understand and vowed to assist me. With some help from a few of his friends, I had managed to track down those evil men that took everything from me. I had finally been granted my revenge. But it didn't bring them back. Nothing could, I had initially thought. Or could it? As you might have guessed, that was when I decided to first study necromancy. In secret, however. Your initial thoughts on this particular school of magic are commonly shared among the general public. I hadn't told anyone, in fact. Not even my master. A foolish decision, as I would soon learn. You see, if I had only spoken to him about this, I would have been told that necromancy wouldn't have helped me. In fact, nothing could, though I'm sure I wouldn't have listened anyway. As it turns out, there was simply too much time that has passed since their death. I learned that the hard way. While necromancy can be used for a much longer period of time than holy magic for the purpose of bringing someone back, that time isn't infinite. Thankfully, you're within that window. How much do you remember of who you were, I mean? Still not much. Yes, that's what I was afraid of. Unfortunately, being brought to life will almost always cause extreme amnesia. I was hoping that my story would spark something. You see, I've told you the story of my childhood before. That's right, we knew each other before your passing. Quite well, actually. We were married. Hmm. Perhaps the loss of memory is a bit of a blessing. At least you don't remember, firsthand, what horrors you must have gone through before you died. You see, it happened while I was away on business. People often hire me for various duties that would require a wizard. Unfortunately, this particular task had me gone for a few weeks. Enough time for tragedy to find its way into my life again. When I returned, I came home to a demented version of deja vu. Bandits raided our home here while I was away. And the bastards were actually camping out here. That was the last mistake they would make. After clearing our home of those vermin, I had set out to gather the reagents that I needed. The only thing on my mind, bringing you back. I had barely slept a wink since finding you. I didn't dare tempt the clock on this. The spell consumed a portion of my life, but what is my life knowing that you are gone? It's a price I would pay again and again. The time I spent learning necromancy was no help to that child or his parents, but at least it had come in use for the adult he would become. At least it had saved the love of his life. The only evidence I have is this locket. Look inside. That's right. It's a picture of the two of us. I've always adored your smile in this picture. I understand that you don't remember me, and maybe you even think I'm lying to you. I wouldn't hold it against you. There are plenty of ill meaning people in this world, of that I am certain. If you want to leave, I won't hold it against you. I cannot and will not force you to stay, but I would love for you to get to know me again. If you would be interested, perhaps one day you will begin to remember. Maybe the two of us can fall in love once again.